Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to Ring Knutstorp for race number 2 of round number 5, the penultimate round of the NXT Gen Cup season. My name is Dan Papers, and as always, I'm joined in the booth by the founder of the series, Fredrik Lestrip. Fredrik, today we've had race 1, which was an absolute thriller, and we're awaiting race 2 at the moment.
Yes, we had a really nice race 1. Linus Granfors taking more victories, extending his championship lead in front of Elias Adestam, and Mikkel Njord is promoted to P3 from what we understand. So there was a penalty for Ellis when he overtook Mikkel Njord, and he lost the position. Mikkel Njord, 3rd place, so podium for him. And there's been an incident in one of the other categories, so they're repairing the guardrail at the moment, so we still need a few minutes, I think. Here you can see that. So the track marshals doing a hard job. Here you can see Sten Gunnarsson with the blue shirt, one of the people making sure that the track is ready, that the track is safe. So thank you all the marshals for doing a good job for us.
Goodness me, normally when I'm in the booth, you know that there are safety workers out there, but the names, that is always a guess. And you know, apparently you know everyone. This is also a good moment, I think, to thank everyone who's here at the track, all the marshals, all the safety workers, all the recruitment teams that are here at the track doing this for us, because without them, of course, these volunteers, we wouldn't be here racing. So a big thank you to all of them. The championship, I mean, if we look at how it's standing, Linus Granfors extending his lead in the championship over Ellis Spezia in that race. The gap now 17 points, so he's making sure that he's got a bit of breathing room going into Montour Park.
Exactly, and I mean we still have 100 points, I think, to drive for, or at least more than 100 points to drive for. So
I think 94.
So the championship is obviously very wide open still.
Yep.
Linus Granfors 17 points. It's not a lot. You can change. It changes quickly. Elias Adestam 37 points behind in 3rd position. Obviously you get 30 points for a victory, so he's a little bit way off. He needs to do good races now and make sure he's collecting all the points he can.
It's not only there, because if you look further back, Theo Jernberg and Victor Nielsen, P7 and P8 in the championship, only 3 points between those two, so that it's wide open there. Then if we look even further back, Siri Högfeldt and Sebastian Schinmark on the same amount of points, both on 41 points. And then 3 points behind that is Isaac Arvidsson. He's sadly not here this weekend. Don't know if he will be joining for the last round. Could be. Would love to see Isaac back, of course. Had a really good round at Yellerolsen. Defended like an absolute champion at the front of the field. But once, well, there, Linus Granfors got past, the floodgates opened, and he dropped back to P6 in that race. Still a very good result. And then a little bit further back, Mikkel Njord with that 3rd place now. He is climbed up to the championship in P15, 2 points ahead of Graham Hofmans. Graham Hofmans is 5 points ahead of Louise Larson in P17. So everything still to play for, nothing closed. One thing we do know, and that is that down to P7, Theo Jernberg, he mathematically, Fredrik, is out of the championship, and I think with this race, Alexander Christensen, he would be too.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to talk about Lucas Stiefelhagen. So we're on board in his car, in his LRT NXT1 electric race car, and he did a fantastic job coming in our Schunk car, qualifying on pole position in his first ever try in this category, in his first ever try at the Green Hell of Sweden, Ring Knutstorp.
I want to ask you one thing though, because what we can see Lucas doing here is 2 feet on the brake pedal. What kind of braking technique are we seeing here?
So he's doing it for a reason, obviously. He's standing now where the road is not flat, so the car would roll away otherwise. But it's also for another reason, and it's because you can see in the middle of your screen you have D, so drive is activated. And if he would let go of the brake pedal, it would automatically after 5 seconds jump into neutral. So he's making sure that he has the gear engaged to be ready to drive. You can also see the blinkers left and right are both blinking, so he has the pit speed limiter activated. And we have a lot of safety functions in these electric race cars. Of course, we need to. We follow the FIA regulations. We are fully compliant with all the regulations, safety functions, everything we need. And we have a lot of things. So having this function that it jumps out of gear is one thing. We also have, they need to activate the pit speed to get full power. So when you start the car up, you just activate it. You have a very low torque, and it's to prevent that something happens in pit lane. So they need to activate and deactivate pit speed, and then they have the full power that they use during the races.
This is very true. And one man knew that at Oschersleben, but didn't do it. Linus Gronfors, that only moment where he looked like he was going to retire, did a power recycle, got the car going again. That's the first thing we tell the drivers to do. If there's something wrong, stop on the side of the track in a safe position, if possible, and just power cycle the car, reset the car, and he got it going. Only he didn't quite know that he had to push the pit limiter. So he got into the pit, put the pit limiter on, then he stopped at the box, and his engineer said, "Well, mate, press the pit limiter and go out again. You're fine."
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to forget in the moment, isn't it? So we're still waiting. We can see that the marshals are still doing the final touches on the guardrail, on the tires, to make sure that that's safe for our category going out. But we need to talk more about the first race, Dan. It was obviously very, very wet conditions, exactly identical conditions as yesterday at qualifying, and now it's the complete opposite. So we have full sun, it's 20 degrees, we have a slight rear wind coming, helping you on the straights, and I think with these different conditions now, we will see different people performing.
Yeah, I mean, one man who was quick yesterday in the dry was Elias Adestam, finishing second in that first race. He had high hopes going into this race. He was quickest during the practice one yesterday, which was in the dry, quickest by about 2.5 tenths. Everyone will have been storming to the engineers to look at that data. So was the case yesterday after qualifying when Lucas was on pole by half a second. So, of course, that's something that we do as well. Data from every driver is open to every driver. So if Lucas wanted, he could have looked at Elias's data after the first practice session, and if Elias wanted, and he did, he told me after, they can look at Lucas's data. So the data is open for all the drivers. Everyone can look at everyone's data, and I think that is that's a really, really good thing, especially when you're wanting to help these drivers improve. Ellis Spezia. The race director seemed to be on him this weekend during qualifying. I think ignored a yellow flag that gave him his quickest lap time was deleted. Then in race 1, of course, he had contact with Mikael Njör, and the positions were reversed, so Mikael Njör got that podium.
Yeah, they had a good fight. They were switching positions. They were doing, cutbacks, gaining high momentum out on the straights, and they had a really good fight. But the fact judges deemed that Ellis had pushed a little bit, so gained an advantage by contact. So they gave him a penalty enough to give the position back to Mikael Njör, basically.
Yeah, he finished right behind him then in the standings. So here we can see we're almost done repairing the tire stacks there, and we're almost time to get going with race number 2. Let's talk a bit about the next round then, Mantorp Park. After this round, after this race, when we're done here, we head to Mantorp Park for the finale of the NXT Gen Cup season. That will be on the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of September, a Friday and Saturday. So yeah, get your tickets because they are available, and you don't want to miss that last round where the championship is going to be decided, because mathematically Linus doesn't have a chance to win the championship here today, so it's gonna go down to the last round. The question just is, Frederick, how is Linus going to look into that last round?
I mean, he has been looking very strong going into Germany, especially going into this race weekend, and I think he has the confidence. He knows he's quick. He has a little bit of an advantage now in the points, so he needs to play it safe in this race. Though starting P8 at Ring Knutstorp, it's not an easy task. We saw Ellis did a fantastic job from P7 going up to fighting for the podium positions. So I'm pretty sure he will manage to gain positions, but you need to stay clean, no mistakes, no contact, make sure you get the points. And he has a lot of fast drivers around him. Obviously, Elias Adestam starting directly in front of him, and Mikael Njör that has great pace, at least in the wet during the first race. So let's see how this unfolds. And we need to talk about Alexander Christiansson in the Åsbohus car, starting in P1, finishing P8 in the first race. He has shown good speed basically every weekend, but he hasn't really put it together during the races. So starting from P1 here, it's a track where it's a little bit easier to be in the front because there's not so many overtaking places at the track. So let's see what he can do We have a good crowd. You can see some people here on the grandstands with the blue NXT Gen Cup hats. We're happy to see them there. We have a lot of guests from our partners. So let's just go through the lap, show you the corners. So Ring Knutstorp, the green hell of Sweden. We have a pretty long start-finish straight going into a very tricky first corner. It's actually divided in two corners, as you can see. So turn 1, turn 2 are actually going into each other, but you make them one. Turn 3 here, it's very much elevation that you don't see when you're looking at the track. Going into turn 5 and then turn 6 under the Ferena de Biel sign. Well done, Mr. Drone Pilot. Tricky corner. Easy to lose the car. You can see all the evidence in the grass from that. So turn 7 leads you into turn 8. This left-hander.
A lot of drivers looking up here.
They are locking up the left inner wheel. It's a good overtaking spot. And then you have the hairpin. We call it the idiot, because it's an idiot corner. It's really difficult to drive.
You can never get it right.
No. And turn 8, also a quick corner. You have to line the car up perfectly to do turn 11 right, which is this one. And then we have downhill. It's like a roller coaster going down. Easy to outbrake yourself. This is also a corner. It's turn 12, but it's basically two corners into one. And then obviously turn 13, turn 14, the last two corners, heavy banking, heavy elevations, don't hit the fence there, well done. And that's a lap of Ring Knutstorp.
I would like to see the lap time there.
Yeah, maybe that was quicker than our minis, I don't know, that was well driven. Well done. So here we have a beautiful safety car coming directly from Formula E, so our mini pace setter, fully electric. So this was traveling all around the world.
And look here, Frederick, down the hill, one of the places where it's actually still wet. So it's not going to be easy, especially coming down there, because the braking zone here is so crucial. And I think, personally, that is one of the most difficult braking zones we have on the calendar.
That's very true, Dan. I didn't see that when we did the drone footage. And here as well, a little bit wet. So the drivers only have an outlap now to see where is it wet, where is it dry, where do we need to be cautious. Maybe outside the line there's a little bit of wetness. So they need to use this first outlap now to make sure they keep this in mind. So obviously this safety car built by Mini for Formula E. We have used a little bit of the design features when we have built the LRT NXT1 cars. Beautiful. I've never driven it on track. I want to.
I mean, I want to, but I never get a go.
No.
You know.
No.
See, yeah.
It's a no, Dan. It's a no, Dan.
Ladies and gentlemen, officially it's rigged. It's I'm not allowed to drive the car. Anyways, I think it's a good time to also go through the starting grid for race number 2, because Alexander Christensen, like you said, will start from pole position. Alongside him will be Alex Gustafsson. 2 in P3, excuse me, because we just had P2 Alex Gustafsson, in P3 Enzo Holman, and in P4 Lucas Stiefelhagen. Then in P5 it'll not be Mikael Njur but Ellis Spezia. In P6 it'll be Mikael Njur. In P7 Elias Adestam, and P8 for Linus Granfors. Then P9 Theo Jernberg just dropped out of that reverse top 8. He started third in the first race. Then Jonathan Engström in P10 and Victor Nielsen in 11th. Måns Tallin in P12, Louise Larsen in 13th, 14th Sebastian Schinmark, and 15th Philip Bartos, 16th Siri Högfeldt, and I think due to a drivetrain problem earlier on, it was, I think, Graham Hoffmans who did not end that race. He did not finish it.
Exactly. So I think our safety car driver is really enjoying his time now.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of sightseeing laps. That's good. He's helping us making sure the moist is gone from the track. So thank you for that. Looks really good. So this is a little bit tricky for the drivers. They're sitting strapped up in the race cars. They have their full racing gear on, the helmets. It's getting hot. It's full sun. I've been there. It's not easy for them. They are trying to keep themselves cool and be focused and ready for the race. So all the marshals are gone now from turn 1 or outside of turn 2. So the fence is repaired. Everyone is ready. We can see some of our partners for the championship from Hancock, Thomas Berg from Schunk standing with his guest as well. So nice that. So the cars will soon line up just after the safety car for the reconnaissance lap. And as I said, it is important now. Make sure you know where the water is. Make sure you don't make a mistake, especially the first lap.
The thing is, I think, Frederick, is that we don't actually go around the full track, because we do use a shortcut, I think, to get onto the straight, don't we?
Not for the race. So we've made sure that the race director takes them the full lap.
Here we go. Here we have the great Alexander Christensen. Will start alongside Alex Gustafsson on the front row. He will lead us away to the green flag. Enzo Holman in P3 ahead of Lucas Stiefelagen in P4. Then in P5, Ellis Pietja ahead of Mikael Njör, Elias Adestam in P7 and Linus Granfors in 8. 9th is Theo Jernberg and Jonathan Engström in 10th. He will be looking to climb up the grid because he didn't quite have the race he wanted in race 1. Victor Nielsen in P11. He will look to climb the table as well. Måns Dahlin in 12th. 13th, Louise Larsen ahead of Sebastian Schindmark in P14. Philip Bartos in 15 and Siri Högfeldt in P16. And Graham Hoffmans at the back of the grid. He will look to try and climb the order and make his way up into the top 10. He will start 17th. A good grid. We are going out on onto the track indeed. And as you can see, still very, very wet.
So he's doing everything he can to try to avoid the moist. If you can just ask the camera crew here to go back to the onboard video, we will just show you the steering wheel. Here we go. So this is from Elias Adestam's car. He's making sure he has temperature in the tires.
Elias, please, can you keep the steering wheel still?
Exactly. What I wanted to show you is on the left side of your steering wheel you have a yellow button. So that is the push to pass button. So to get the extra power, so we have push to pass, it will give them 60 more horsepower. They can use this twice per race for 5 seconds. But we have a little twist. They need to push the button, and it takes 5 seconds before they have access to the 60 extra horsepower. And they need to use the power within 5 seconds, otherwise they are losing their shot at glory. So they really need to plan. They need to think about where they use it and how they use it. And it's a little bit tricky here at Ring Knutstorp because there's not a lot of straights where you can use the extra power. So they need to think about, should I use it out of the corner somewhere? Should I use it on the straight? And obviously, as we could see, I think the start-finish line was where most of them were using it during race 1.
Yeah, and I think actually Elias did use his push to pass, but he got wheel spin on the second to last lap. That's why the gap was so big at that point. And I did say that they were both using it. I didn't quite know it because you couldn't really see it. But luckily, ladies and gentlemen, on the left-hand side of screen, once we do get underway, if you do see someone blinking blue and orange, that means that they are using push to pass. So keep an eye out on the left-hand side of the timing tower. That will pop up once we get underway and once the lights go out and we go green. But there you can see who is using push to pass and who isn't using push to pass. A very handful feature that we have from this round onwards. Well, I mean, it's time to get this race underway. I'm excited to get it underway. I can't wait, Fredrik.
No, me neither. I mean, we've been waiting now and we've been waiting for the good weather, which has arrived. So the drivers only has this outlap. They will line up on their grid positions. We will have our beautiful mini pace setter safety car leading the grid on all the way to their grid boxes. And then we have a start. So this is the chance they have now to get prepared. I hope all of them have seen the wet river running over the track going into turn 12. There was also a little bit of moist out of turn 13, the last corner before the straight. So they need to be cautious about that.
Well, especially down at the turn 1, once we've got the 17 cars running down to turn 1, that'll be crucial. Alexander Christensen, he will start this race from the pole position. This is exactly where he wanted to start, and he found his groove after Oschersleben and is looking to continue. Hasn't won a race yet. He's looking to do that today. Alex Gustafsson lines up alongside him on the front row. In the early morning, in race number 1, it was Alex Gustafsson, that P2 spot, that actually got P1 by turn 1. So he's got a good chance of trying to overtake him. Lucas Stiefelagen, the Dutch driver in the number 9, the Schunk car, he was mighty fast in qualifying, showed his pace again in the rain race in race number 1. Ellis Pietja in the 11 dropped that spot, but that has allowed him to, well, get a grid position further up, and the green flag at the back of the grid is waved. We're waiting for the 5-second board to go out. And then we will get underway. Theo Jernberg in P4, or in the number 4, he will line up in P7. The red lights are off and we're underway. It's a good start for Alexander Christensen, good start for Alex Gustafsson as well. This time, Lucas actually does get underway very well. A good start also from Ellis Pietja in P5. He's already alongside the 6 of Mikael Njör, who once again has a great start on the outside this time round. Mikael Njör in the middle. They make it through side by side. Ellis on the wet stuff, and he manages to keep the car going in a straight line, but that wasn't as easy as he would have thought it would be. be. Linus Granfors also now alongside him in the 08 on the internet car here. We're on board now with Elias Adestam. You can see it on the left-hand side his helmet. He's right behind Linus Granfors coming down the hill. The most difficult part of the track. He goes to the outside and he overtakes not one, but almost two cars. Lucas Stiefelhagen is right in front of Alice Spezia and he gets him. Goodness me, Alex Gustafsson was off into the hairpin. That is why that corner is called the idiot. You can't get it right. Lucas Stiefelhagen, I think, is up into P2.
It looks like Alex Gustafsson is struggling. He's having oversteer. Maybe he's got stuff on his tires. Watch out now, going into turn 12 for the wetness. Good job, and Alice Piazza on the inside of Linus Granfors. Over the water, you can see the spray on the windscreen. They're keeping it very nice and tidy now. Going out of the last corner, Elias Adestam. Let's see, we don't have the scoreboard yet to see if they are using push to pass. You can see also the water there and the spray going out of the last corner. So Alexander Christiansson, he's got a gap now. This has helped him. So the struggle Alex Gustafsson had has helped him now to gain a gap, and Linus Granfors is pushing. It's getting really tight in the back.
I think Enzo Holman might have used one of his push to pass to get up the order. Alice Spezia once again not having the race he wanted. Look at that. It is Jonathan Engström who's made his way up the order. He's now right behind Ellis, and right behind that I think we have Victor Nielsen in the number 50. So he's right up there as well. Made his way up the order. Enzo Holman now right behind Lucas Stiefelhagen. If he can finish this race in P2. Well, I talked to him earlier. He's looking for next season, but he may be doing the next round depending on how it goes, but definitely if you look at his debut this weekend, he's a very promising prospect. Alex Gustafsson has found his groove again after that off moment, going down into the hairpin into turn 9, down the hill again, the most difficult braking point on the track and on the calendar for sure, and they all get it right this time round. I said earlier on the top of the show that into turn 8 they always lock up. That's because you unload the rear left tire, Fredrik.
Yeah, exactly. And Lucas Stiefelhagen, good start from him. P2 at the moment. Heavily attacked by Enzo Hallman in the back of him in the Hexis car, our stickering supplier for the championship. That is now right under the rear wing of Lucas Stiefelhagen.
Alex Gustafsson is on his own at the moment, is right ahead of Victor Nielsen. Jonathan Engström getting bullied out. Mikael Njör has actually dropped down the order. He was P10 coming across the line this time round. So Ellis has managed to pass him. So has Elias. Elias now out on the back of Linus Granfors. We saw those two having a monumental battle. To the outside goes Elias. You don't want to be there for that corner because you're going to get bullied out. And indeed he does. The inside for the hairpin. But is Alice Spezia going to get past? We don't know yet. There he is. They're still side by side coming out of the corner. Ellis is not going to quite get it done. Now Linus to the inside of Enzo Holman. That's going to give Lucas a bit of breathing room in P2. But what this is doing, all this fighting, is allowing Alexander Christiansen to build up a little bit of a gap.
Exactly, going down to turn 12 again, the difficult braking, and they're saving their push to pass. They've done that the whole year. They're saving it for the end of the race to fight for the positions. So you need to overtake without wasting your push to pass at this point of the race. We still have 9 laps to go, and Alexander Christiansson has almost a 2-second gap now to Stiefelhagen, and Linus Granfors trying on the inside, really late braking, and what an overtake. That was really well done.
That was a send and a half. That was lick the stamp and send it from Linus Granfors. Now he is right behind Lucas Stiefelhagen in P2, and he's gunning for it. Of course, the more he can climb the order, the better position he will be in going into the last round at Montour Park. Lucas is under pressure now from a championship leader. This is difficult. His second ever race in the Next Gen Cup, and immediately under big pressure from a championship leader. Enzo Holman off the track. He's lost his splitter, I think. I'm pretty sure that was Alice Spezia once again on finding himself on the outside of turn 9. This time the inside for turn 10 will work out, and he's gotten past Enzo Holman after that. Now Elias Adestam right on the back still of Linus Granfors. Both of them now pressurizing Lucas Stiefelhagen. You can see that in the braking zone, just the inexperience from Lucas showing a bit here in the drive, but he's holding up pretty well, pressurized by the leader of the championship. This is incredible.
It's very well. I mean, limited experience compared to these guys. He's keeping his position. It made a really nice exit. Look at that. So he managed to get a gap to Linus Granfors. So Granfors can't attack into turn 1. That's the way he needs to do it now, the rest of the race, to keep the speed. So it indeed was the splitter. I can see on another screen one of the marshals has picked it up on the track. So Enzo Hallman lost the splitter of his car. I don't think it will affect him any much performance-wise.
for Alexander Christensen. This race feels like it has been going on for an hour already. The gap is huge, but not quite big enough to this contact. Lean is sending it up the inside, and it might have been a bit too ambitious. Contact with Lucas, and he's off the track, overtaken by Elias Adestam, Linus Granfors, and Ellis Spezia. The top three in the championship are right together. Elias Adestam to the inside of Linus Granfors, now pushing him wide, doing what Linus did to Lucas a little bit earlier on in the lap, and Elias is finally past Ellis now, going forward as well, down into the downhill braking zone, not quite close enough. Will one of these three competitors now use this push to pass? We're on board now with the number 3 of Linus Granfors right on the back of Elias Adestam. And on the left-hand side, no one using this push to pass yet.
And this is exactly what Ellis Spezia was penalized for in race 1, contact and gaining a position. And it looked like Linus Granfors tried to get off the throttle and let Lucas Stiefelhagen pass again to get the position back, but obviously there's other cars now in front of him, so he can't really do that. Now he needs to push.
Look at the gap that Alexander Christensen had, though. He's been gunning for that victory for so long, and this might well be the day that he gets his maiden victory. He's improved a lot during the season. He got his groove in Oschersleben and now has about a 3-second gap at the front of the field, but this man is wanting to pass him. It looked like there was a bit of contact, at least a bit of understeer on the inside, changing his brake balance a bit. Look at that, with 3 wide, going down into turn 10. Ellis Spezia on the inside is going to get them both. Elias Adestam still fending off the 11, but Linus Granfors has lost 2 positions in doing so. This is crucial for Ellis Spezia onto the grass, downhill braking zone now. This is difficult. This is fighting on, well, the ragged edge of what is possible, and this is exactly what we want.
I'm pretty sure Linus Granfors is in for a penalty there for gaining an advantage and overtaking with the contact that happened with Lucas Stiefelhagen. So let's see what happens with that. But obviously Ellis now, he knows this, and he will try and do everything he can to gain the positions. And Linus Granfors, you can't break that late. Well done, boys, staying out of trouble there. And here we go, good exit by Ellis going into turn 3.
You have to keep for trying.
It's wide, it's big, give each other room, going over the crest.
Oh goodness me, they're still side by side into the hardest part of the track. Downhill braking zone, lifting off the throttle would be deadly here. The outside for Ellis Spezia, once again on the outside, contact further between the two. This is the 2 championship protagonists fighting on the edge of what's possible, fighting where they know they can just about be without getting a penalty. That's what, well, they've been doing for the remainder or for the rest of the season that we've had so far. Linus Granfors still ahead of Ellis Spezia. This is allowing Elias Adestam to get a little bit of a gap now, and that has also allowed Christensen to build up a gap of 4 seconds at the front of the field.
We've got 6 laps to go, so 4 seconds is a really nice buffer for him to have. And Lucas Stiefelhagen, I mean, he's fallen all the way back to 10th position, so that's not good for him. Clearly got out of rhythm, lost a few spots at the moment. And Ellis Spezia, I mean, they're not using any push to pass yet, what we can see. So still saving them for the end of the race. And Jonathan Engström is pushing in the Bygström car quite heavily. He's in P7 at the moment. Looked like he was passing Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah, I think that was indeed Alexander Gustafsson, and he's managed to do so from the pictures that I could see coming down into, or coming out of turn 2. Victor Nielsen is in P5, and because of this fighting, he's right on the back of Ellis Spezia. Ellis had a puncture in Gellerossen, which puts him right down the order. It looks like at the moment...
Safety car. We have a safety car.
We do. There's a safety car out on track, and that is 5 laps to go. Oh, Siri Högfeldt is the driver that has found the gravel trap. That is at the top of the hill. I think that might be turn 6 on the top of the hill, coming down into turn 7. Very tricky point on the track. And she wasn't happy in race 1, and she won't be happy with race 2. Stuck in the gravel. That is not what she would have wanted.
No, let's hope she hasn't hit the barriers as well, damaged the car too much, but that's a shame. She's been fighting good this weekend. She's improving every time we're out on track. So to end up in the gravels, it's never a good thing, obviously.
What this has done, though, Frederick, I'm gutted for it. Yeah. The 4-second lead that he'd got Alexander Christensen, completely gone. It's washed away with this safety car, and he will be gutted. I can bet you that when he loses this first position now, he'll be having nightmares of that for the rest of the season. But he is still in P1. He will lead the field away. He will probably still have to push the passes left. He wasn't in any contention, so he didn't have to use them. So he will probably be in a very, very strong position still at the front of the field. 4 laps to to go. Let's hope they can get Siri out of that gravel trap ASAP so we can go back to green flag racing and finish this under green flag racing, so we will have a sprint to the end.
I talked to Elias Adestam after race 1. I walked him from the podium, and I mean, he has nothing to lose now. He's quite a few points behind in the championship, and he needs to focus on race victories. He's got nothing to lose. I mean, you can lose points, but he needs to pass Kristiansson for the championship points. So that's what he will do, and I'm pretty sure he will do everything he can. And Kristiansson in the Åsberghus car, he's been leading races, he's been qualifying in the top, but he hasn't really put it together, so this is his chance. So I think Siri was really lucky here. Now it looks like the front of the car is a little bit damaged, but that's a shame. So the marshals are doing a good job getting her away from the gravel trap. So Adestam needs to do something quickly now. There are 4 laps to go. Push the pass, safety car restart.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen it before. Lucas Stiefelhagen, though, starting once again up there in the top 5. He has dropped down to P11, Frederick. Not what he would have wanted, especially starting up the order. He's had that contact with Linus Granfors. Let's hope there's no damage to the car. Linus leading the championship, taking all the risk. And maybe the fact that Ellis was behind him was pressurizing him as well. Ellis would have known that the front of the car, as we can see for Siri Högfeldt, visibly damaged. Let's hope it's only visible damage and not too much damage to the car itself, to the chassis or anything, or to the motors that are obviously located at the front of the car, because we know that Graham Hofmans had a touch to the barrier in qualifying, and that in the end resulted in a differential failure because he had the damage from qualifying.
So we have green
race 1.
It looks like we have a green flag, and we do. So the race has started, and Elias Adestam is trying. I think he's used to push the pass, trying on the outside now, going into turn 1. It won't work for him, and Linus Granfors needs to defend from Ellis Piezza, trying on the outside. There's a lot of water and off the track.
There's no room left from Linus Granfors, racing with his elbows out. And Elias Adestam is side by side with Alexander Christensen for the lead. This is down into the right hand, and he's got him. He's got him. That was down into turn 6. A great move from Elias Adestam. Now Alexander Christensen has to stick behind him, see what he can do. Maybe just push the pass going back onto the straight. But we're back to green flag racing. Lucas Stiefelhagen seems to have gained a couple of positions as well. Victor Nielsen is also right up there now. He's gotten up into P4. He's pushed Ellis wide. Ellis once again with his elbows out in the wars. Ellis Piezza dropped down to P6. Enzo Holm has gotten past him as well. And now Jonathan Engström has gotten past him. Goodness me, he's dropping down the order faster than an elevator jump towers. Unbelievable. That was crazy from Ellis Piezza. He's now down at P7. And it's Elias Adestam leading at the front of the field ahead of Alexander Christensen. Linus Granfors in P3. What will he do? It looks like he's using push to pass on the straight. He's moving to the outside, Alexander Christensen. He used push to pass for sure. That was laid on into the straight. Elias Adestam defending the inside, contact between the two. Look what this is doing. That had allowed Linus Granfors to gain a position, and he's now up into P2. Goodness me, this has been a real race of contact at the front, and once again I think that was Mikael Njur off the track. I don't know how that happened. It looked like all on his own. He was all on his own at the moment that we saw him. This is I think we're on board for Lucas Stiefelhagen here, and he's gone up the inside and he's made it work. What a move.
And Adestam did exactly what he needed to do. He needed to pass Christensen as soon as possible to get the championship points. Obviously the championship leader now, P2, chasing him, trying to get the points as well. But Ellis, he's fallen back. P7 at the moment. Must have got him out of rhythm as well. Doesn't look like he can follow properly Jonathan Engström in the Byggström car. So, and now Linus Granfors. Should he push? It's 2 laps to go. Should he try to get the lead now? Should he wait? Adestam, how many push to pass does he have left? We don't know. We don't have the graphics at the moment.
We don't know. At the moment, Linus Granfors is in P2 right behind him. And I don't know if he has pushed to pass left. At the moment, it's purely slipstream that is working its magic for Linus Granfors. We're on board with the 3 of Linus Granfors. Alexander Christensen defending on Victor Nielsen. There's one Dane who had a podium earlier on. And it looks like Victor Nielsen is gunning for one now as well. Oh, he's off the track. Oh. Goodness me, don't hit anyone coming back on. There might have been some contact between the two. He's now dropped back into the clutches of Ellis Piezza. Well, I think that was Alex Gustafsson using his windscreen wipers, but I don't think it's raining out there on track. Even though we see Enzo Holman
and
using
Ellis
it
is off the track.
Ellis is off the track. How has that happened? Was there further contact? The car looked fine, and he's able to continue. We're on the last lap of the race. Elias Adestam is still ahead of Linus Granfors. This was exactly the case coming into the last lap. Last time round, Lucas Stieflagel trying different lines compared to Ellis Spezia, trying to make his way
Ellis
up
is
the order.
struggling. Ellis got a problem, probably a puncture front right. Another puncture. He had a puncture at Yellerosen as well, so this is ruining his points, his championship fight. And Linus Granfors losing some body parts.
The run down to the line, the checkered flag will be out, and it will be Elias Adestam winning in race number 2, and Linus Granfors is second ahead of Alexander Christensen, who gets another podium, but he will be gutted because he had 4 seconds when the safety car came out. Enzo Holman in P4 ahead of Jonathan Engström in P5. He came from P10. Great drive from him. Alex Gustafsson in P6. Victor Nielsen in 7th. Måns Tallinn in 8th. Lucas Stieflagen in 9th. Sebastian Schinmark 10th. Well, Ellis Spezia has dropped completely out of the top 10. And well, here we have the results. Elias Adestam finally getting that victory. He knew it was quick. He came from P7 and he is victorious in race 2 once again. Linus Granfors in 2nd, Alexander Christensen in 3rd, Enzo Holman in 4th, Jonathan Engström in 5th, Alex Gustafsson in 6th, Mr. Consistent continuing his streak, Victor Nielsen in 7th ahead of Måns Tallinn in 8th, Lucas Stieflagen in 9th, and Ellis Spezia in P10 on my timing screen. At the moment it looks like Ellis Spezia is in P16. He's dropped all the way down from what I know. Philip Bartels in 16th, Siri Höckfeld in 17th, and Katie Turner not taking part in this race. Neither did she in race 1. Theo Jernberg finished 11th, Graham Hoffman's 12th. A good comeback drive from him from the back of the field with a car that was struck in race 1. Here we see Siri Höckfeld, who of course touched the wall, hit the wall with about 5 laps to go. Here we go then, highlights of that race. It was Alexander Christensen leading us away to the green flag. A good start from Alex Gustafsson alongside him, but it wasn't quite enough to try and move in turn 1. Who had enough to try and move into turn 1, and it was 3 wide between them. It was Lucas Stieflagen and I think Mikael Njör and Ellis Spezia. Then around the outside for Elias Adestam, didn't quite work out. A lot of contact at the front. This was one of them. Alex Gustafsson getting pushed out by Enzo Holman. Then in the back it was Ellis Spezia trying to overtake Linus Granfors. Linus would force his way through on Elias Adestam. Then he went down the inside of Enzo Holman. He was gunning it, and that was a great move from Linus Granfors. Then later on in the race he pushed Enzo Holman a bit wide, so not exactly what he would have wanted. Then a little bit further back in the field, there was the contact between the two, and at some point we were 3 wide coming out of turn 9. This was the move that eventually won Elias Adestam the race against Linus Granfors. Then a little bit of understeer. Watch on the right hand side in the middle of your screen, adjusting the brake bias immediately after that, immediately taking action. This was the 3 wide moment coming out of turn 9. Ellis Spezia trying to make his way up the inside, couldn't quite get past the second car, and he was stuck side by side with Ellis Spezia. That would later allow Linus Granfors to come back up the inside of him. Then we had the safety car coming out for Siri Höckfeld. The number 21 stuck in the gravel. This was Linus Granfors pushing Ellis Spezia off the track. Elbows out at the front as well. Elias Adestam making his way past Alexander Christensen, who will be having nightmares because he had a 4-second gap before the safety car came out. This was another move. This was after the safety car restart. Linus Granfors also forcing his way through, and Alexander Christensen dropped back to 3rd. Then Victor Nielsen tried to get that trophy in P3 as well, but he later had a moment in that lap. Enzo Holman, Jonathan Engström all going past Ellis Spezia. Here you can see on the right hand side dropping all the way down the order. Then the checkered flag came out, and it was Elias Adestam seeing the checkered flag first in race number 2, and Linus Granfors in P2. But don't take that for granted, because Linus might be coming out with a penalty there. We saw it in race 1 that Ellis got a penalty for contact with Mikael Njör, and I think there will be a couple of drivers with maybe at least a warning or a penalty, because there was a lot of contact at the front. This was it then for the NXT Gen Cup. We can see Frederick out there, and Frederick, over to you.
Thank you, Dan. Let's talk to the winners of the race. We'll start with P3, Alexander Christiansson. So you started the race in P1. You had a gap of 4 seconds. Unlucky with the safety car ruining the gap. So how was your race?
Yeah, I have a good gap to the cars behind, and yeah, I felt confidence with that gap. And when I see the safety car sign, I was pretty angry, and I know what it's gonna be tough in the end. So, but I had the 2 of the push to pass left, so yeah, I managed to podium.
So you're happy about the podium and the push to pass? Did they use it to pass you think?
The other guys? Yeah, I think so. And Enzo did it on the straight to the checkered flag, and mine just loaded up, so it was so close. But it feels really good.
Another podium?
Yeah, feels good.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Let's grab P2 in the race, Linus Granfors. Good with the safety car, bunching up the field a little bit. You had some contact with Lucas Stiefelhagen. How was that incident?
Yeah, I was on the inside and he just turned into me, and so that's what happened.
And fighting for the win, did you use the push to pass in the end, or what was your plan? How was it?
Yeah, I did a mistake on the last lap, so I lost Elias a bit. But I used to push the pass, but it was super close, but I didn't manage to overtake him.
And P2, good for the points?
Yeah, it's good for the points, and I would say congrats to Elias too.
Good. Elias, victory again, another victory. You have a few. You were a little bit saved by the safety car.
Yeah, this one was this. Of course, I had to fight for every position, and I timed my push to pass very well this time. So yeah, good race. Of course, it was a bit of scrubbing, but that's racing. So rubbing is racing, as they say. So yeah, I'm very happy, of course, and looking forward to points on the tally.
We talked about it, you and me, after race 1. You needed to take victories.
Yeah, and I did. So let's continue with that momentum into Mantorp, and we will have a shot at the championship.
Well done, Dan. Race 2 over.
Am I being interviewed?
Yes, you're being interviewed. Feel honored.
By the Frederick Lester.
So give us race 2. Race 2. What happened?
Well, you've just seen the highlights. Too much to tell you really that happened. I don't remember everything after that, but it was crazy. A lot of contact at the front of the field, and I think we will see a couple of penalties maybe. We'll have to wait. But yeah, especially after what we saw in race 1 with the penalty for Ellis. If that was a penalty, I think there might be a few more coming.
Yeah. And next race, Mantorp Park, the last race weekend of the year.
Yeah, Mantorp Park, the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of September, the final of the NXT Gen Cup. You can get your tickets. They're on sale. Get them now because you don't want to miss it.
Looking forward having you there. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Goodbye.